I want to shift the gears and focus on the Eastern Conference. It's been a roller coaster ride, just to say the least, in terms of kind of getting a beat on like who are the clear favorites. What is your opinion on this? Are you kind of seeing the usual suspects, Boston, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, or are you maybe seeing a sleeper team in there that might surprise a lot of fans out there?
Yeah, it's not even just being a Knicks fan. I have trouble trusting the Nets. I just do. I
I don't
think on
blame you.
paper
Right.
they are a phenomenal team, and you see Kevin Durant feed Ben Simmons twice in the post to try to get him to score, and each time he passes out. And I think that they are so good, but their limitations are glaring. And in terms of the teams that are going to rise, I'm still incredibly high on the Bucks as long as Giannis Antetokounmpo is healthy. We could play
That's right.
they would have won game if Middleton was there, but you could also say that about their championship run, where if they had faced Kyrie Irving for the whole time, or James Harden.
It's true.
So I'd say it's definitely the usual suspects. I'm very curious about how the Celtics season is going to play out because the vibes just seem very rough, but that also is something that could empower them. They could use that to bond and rise above. So I every year there is a team that was good and then just takes this large step back. And like I still wonder. I think the Cavs. I think that they have very good long-term prognosis. I think I totally get why they would make the Donovan Mitchell trade. They 100% got better. I do wonder if because they're a younger team, are they going to face a little bit of adversity and then shift back? I don't really know. It's not so much doubting them, but I just think that there's kind of this mindset that a lot of fans may have, which is, oh, a team got good, so they're definitely going to be good, or they're going to get better. And I just don't know. There has to be a team that drops every year. Just does. So maybe the Hawks. I liked the Murray trade, but at the same time, I just don't know. It's got to fully click. The benefit is they play in a pretty lackluster division, though. So yeah, anyone's guess. But I guess I don't want to go with the Hawks. I'll stick with the Nets. Let's just drive it home with the Nets.
Do you see it being a case where we maybe see 4 or 5 years of a new Eastern Conference team in the finals? And I think a lot of fans like dynasties, they like consistency. Do you think we'll see like a rotating cast of like a top team in the East? I just can't get a beat on like if there's going to be an organization to really just grab the East for a certain amount of years. I just feel like this could be rotating cast of characters just for a little bit here. Do you think that's the case, or do you think you'll see Milwaukee or you'll see maybe Brooklyn figure it out and just kind of take a hold of this conference?
No, I agree. There's a tremendous amount of parity, which I
Yeah,
think as a basketball fan is a lot of fun.
agreed.
I'm very curious if there's going to be a team in the East that does like the all-in move and puts it over the top. I mean, like we saw the Cavs and the Hawks. Those kind of were their all-in moves. They have room in a couple of years for one more, but you then have to consider the value of their picks because they're getting this talent in the door. It's not a lot. I mean, I think that's another reason with the Knicks why fans are confident in some capacity is that yeah, they haven't done anything, but also they have so many picks at their disposal that they can find a way to make a move and then make that second move and not feel like they're being outbid by another team. But I look at a team like the Celtics where they have the ammo to just upgrade. They have the picks. The Jaylen Brown situation, if they feel any sort of concern, they could just find a way to move him and picks for a far better player, and it just works out fine for them. But they're kind of the sleeper team in terms of that one last move that really could put them over the top. Other than that, yeah, I agree. I think just the parity itself, it's going to be a revolving door for teams. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
On that team, can you kind of sit at the stage of like what that was like, doing your research in terms of Kobe's influence?
Yeah, I mean, you have to also remember the time period we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
So all of those guys, it was a predominantly very young team,
yeah,
right? So, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo all are in the same draft class. Chris Paul's a little bit younger. Chris Bosh, I think, might also be that same class or a little bit younger. And so It was a predominantly young team, and it wasn't like Kobe was old, but he was,
Sure.
he was 30 in 2008, and he was, some might argue unquestionably, but probably unquestionably the best player in the NBA, but really at a remove from not only his own teammates on the Lakers, but really kind of from some of those other guys who were his, talent contemporaries. And so when the decision was made to bring him in, it was a huge thing in terms of, hey, could this work? Could Kobe coexist well with these guys? Would they accept him? Would he accept them? The answer obviously was a resounding yes, but it was a kind of a fascinating portrait in team building and ego management, and how do you create a shared agenda for people who may not have one. And I think, godlike figure, certainly big brother, certainly taskmaster, certainly team captain. I think all of those labels apply. And, that is really, you're not wrong. I mean, obviously we felt an enormous responsibility to tell the story well, and to show that impact, which was real and really, meaningful.
And just want to ask you, just with conducting your interviews, I noticed after that 2008 Olympics, just the work ethic of a lot of those players. I think they said like their work ethic changed after seeing Kobe. Did you get any specific anecdotes in terms of just seeing how Kobe prepared his workout routines, like any kind of personal stories that you were talking to the teammates of Kobe that they picked up that they carry on even to this day after that Olympics?
Well, I think they called it the Breakfast Club, right? Which was in Vegas when they had their sort of almost not quarantine, but they were sort of all together for almost a month every summer, 06, 07, 08, in preparation for the Olympics. And there's a great section in the film, or I think it's a great section in the film, where the guys are coming back from like a night in the clubs in Vegas, and they walk in the hotel, and who's there at like 5 a.m? Kobe in his workout gear, and Kobe was brilliant in so many ways, but in that he understood what it meant for these guys to see him that way. Whether they were going to be with him was on their terms, but he was going to do it, and it's that classic, showing by example. And I think more than anything, that set in motion, or that set the model, the template for, if you're going to play for the United States national team, Kobe's there at 5 a.m. Well, if Kobe's there at 5 a.m, well, I got to be there at 5 a.m. And so, there's nothing like, we all kind of have our elders. When you're a freshman in high school, you look at the senior who's a captain, and you're like, oh my God, whatever he does, I'm going to do. And so that dynamic was at play, and you couldn't pull any BS, because that guy's not going to stand for it. And so that set a model for how a team of superstars is going to work.
And I want to start with the big kahuna, the big daddy of them all, the NBA MVP. So we're just ripping that Band-Aid off right away. And the top 5 consensus at the start of the season seems to be Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, and Nikola Jokic, which would be a three-peat for Jokic. He was the award winner last year. Justin, we'll start with you. Who do you like for MVP this year?
Yeah, no surprise here. I like Luka Doncic. I think looking at this award, a team, and looking at Nikola in particular, just with the Nuggets last year and the year before, just with, maybe not the sexiest supporting cast, I feel like Luka falls into that this year. Plus, he has more of a spectacular game, and he has tons of momentum based on previous seasons. I think he's going to be the consensus pick there. I know Christian Wood makes a nice addition to the Mavs. He played particularly well against the Suns in the season openers. So for me, I just think Luka is just a generational talent, and I think he's going to captivate the league this year. And plus, the Mavericks don't have to be the number 1 seed. They could kind of be, as long as they're like 3, maybe 4th, they don't have to, be the outright favorite in the West for Luka to to get the award. So according to Bovada, he's plus 400, and so he's a consensus favorite on the sports book there. So I think for Luka, it's not a surprise that he's the favorite, and we'll see what happens. But again, the NBA is so loaded, who knows? I mean, even though he is the favorite, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else steals the award from him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I love that pick. Plus, you have a West, which is wide open. I could see the Mavericks being the top seed, even though they wouldn't be my first pick. I also love that he's got that built-in narrative of Jalen Brunson left the team for New York. That always helps with an MVP candidacy race.
Agreed.
My pick, so I love your pick, and it wouldn't shock me at all if you're correct. My pick is a guy who has won the MVP already, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that is based on the East being so deep. And I just have a feeling the Bucks aren't going to be slow out of the gates this year like they were last year. A lot of people seem to think they will be. I know Chris Middleton is still injured, so we're not quite sure when he will be back. But I think this is going to be a year where Giannis really, really flexes and demonstrates his power. So that's what I'm banking on. I think there will be voter fatigue for Jokic, even if I think they would have to be the top seed in the West for Jokic to be considered, or maybe top 2 at least. And I'm not confident in the Nets or the 76ers or the Clippers or a bunch of other teams that are mentioned. So I think actually Jason Tatum would be another pick that I'd look out for. But as I said, my pick is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Thoughts on that pick, Justin?
No, it's a great pick. I mean, his game it's unstoppable, right? I mean, no one's gonna stop him. And honestly, we'll get to it later, but depending on how it works itself out, I think Zion Williamson might be kind of a dark horse. I don't think he'll finish top 5 or anything, but just in terms of what they do the same thing, but differently in terms of in the paint. And I think with Giannis, he's just a unstoppable force. And you just saw him with Giannis in, I believe, his preseason and just the media day. He just has more of a ferocity. He reminds me of, we watched the Redeem Team and we watched the guys work out with Kobe and see that work ethic. And I think with Giannis, he's had kind of a similar awakening. He just seems to really respect his peers and wants to emulate that in terms of how he was talking to the media. So, again, I think that's a great pick and wouldn't surprise me if he ends up taking it home for sure.